Hello and welcome back to the channel, and we are here with the first episode of my hopefully quite regularly reoccurring podcast, the Wizarding World Weekly. It is where we discuss everything Wizarding World and all of the recent events that have happened, and in this week's episode we've got a special guest who is also a Harry Potter Wizarding World content creator, and we're going to be discussing the recent release of Secrets of Dumbledore. I'm really excited to put this out there. Hopefully by the time this comes out on YouTube it should also be available on other streaming platforms such as Spotify and hopefully Apple Music, that type of thing. So fingers crossed it should all be set up, ready to go. If it is, I will leave the links down below. In today's episode, we have got a special guest. She makes such brilliant content about the Wizarding World. It is very similar to the content that a lot of you enjoy on my channel. She does sort of trailer breakdowns and that type of thing. So if you are interested in seeing someone else making really creative content based around the similar stuff that you like from this channel, please go and check her out, give her some support and subscribe to her as well. Her content really is fantastic and she's spotted things in the trailer that I haven't even spotted as well. So go and check her out. Her link to her channel will be in the description below. But let's actually get into the podcast and meet her in person. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So we are going to record for the first time, not the second time, a discussion about the Fantastic Beasts film. But first of all, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Caitlin, or Kate, and I have my own channel. I've been doing it for about 4 years, just over 4 years now, and it's called CaitLumos. One word, no space. If you search it with a space, then
There'll be a link
won't
below.
pull me up.
There'll be a link
but
below.
That's true. But CaitLumos, and I mostly do Harry Potter and Marvel stuff. And I just have a lot of fun doing like reactions, reviews, trailers, looking at trailers and breakdowns and all of that fun stuff. And I just love my fandoms, and so I've been posting on YouTube about it for the past few years.
Brilliant. I've watched lots of your videos. They are similar content to what I'm making, and I think you guys watching would really love it. So go and check her out. So a couple of quick fire questions. Then, what house are you in?
I am a Ravenclaw, and I'm actually wearing one of my Ravenclaw shirts today. So
Brilliant. A fellow Ravenclaw, fantastic.
Yes, through and through.
Brilliant.
I almost always get Ravenclaw on any test I take.
Yeah, brilliant. I am planning to do a video very soon where I'm doing the full quiz, and I'm going to hopefully get Ravenclaw. I'll be really disappointed if I don't. So it's going to be a tense video for me.
For sure.
So,
I've done that a few times. I've like a couple years ago, I did a whole bunch of videos about doing the full quiz and everything, trying to see how many times it would take me to not get Ravenclaw, and it took like 3 times. So
nice, good times. Hopefully, I've got a chance then. Hopefully, I've got a chance if it's 3 times. Hopefully, if I do it one time, I should just get Ravenclaw. But it's one of those ones as well. Yeah. I don't want to think about it too much because I'd be thinking, well, what would a Ravenclaw answer? Like, I've got to be answering my own questions. So, what's your favourite Harry Potter book?
So my favorite book is Half-Blood Prince, the 6th one. I really like that one. All of the memories, a lot of people really like the 6th one. Yeah. And I think part of it too is because that's the first one that I actually read the book before seeing the film. So it's kind of special. Yeah. So
the core memory inputted there.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite film?
And my favorite film is probably Prisoner of Azkaban. The 3rd one, I think it just came out when I at a certain age for me that I watched it on repeat, and and then coming back watching all of them again, it's just like a really well done film in my opinion.
Yeah, they change up the way of filming in that film, and it does sort of change the series, and it gets the sort of the darker tone there. So I think a lot of people like it because of the change of tone into the adult side of the story, and it's really nice to sort of see it progressing rather than just being this children's book that the first 2 were sort of based around.
Yeah.
So talking about Wizarding World movies, we're obviously here to discuss the Secrets of Dumbledore. I've seen it twice now. I've been lucky enough, obviously it came out a bit sooner over here than it did for you, so I've seen it twice now.
I just saw it once 2 nights ago. So
yeah, brilliant. So we go through each scene when characters come up. We'll discuss them as we go. The the structure for this is literally just going to be scene by scene, and then we'll discuss things as they come up. So we'll start with the first scene, and it was an interesting one, actually. It was the Dumbledore initially on the London Underground somewhere, going to this nice posh restaurant and meeting up with Grindelwald and discussing the Blood Pact.
Yeah, I thought this scene would come a lot later in the film. Actually, I was surprised when that was the first thing
Yeah.
that was showing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like from the trailer, it was a bit of a weird scene anyway, because I didn't know if it actually happened. If that makes sense. Like I didn't know if this was one of his memories or if this was something that actually was happening at the time. Whether it was like some sort of mind communication that we see like from Star Wars or something like that. It was a bit of a weird portrayal that they do, and they didn't really explain it very well. So I think there's going to be a bit of a running sequence for me, things not being explained very well in this. But it was really weird to see. What was your takes on it?
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And with the things not being explained super well, I feel like is one of the main things that coming out of the movie that is kind of one of the main negative things, I guess, for me. And so definitely I was confused about that scene. Like, was it really happening or no? And but it was a really good scene. Like we finally got the confirmation from Dumbledore that he was in love with Grindelwald, and we get a little bit more of a look into what their relationship was like when they were teenagers. So I really liked having that scene, but yeah, it was really confusing whether it was like real, a flashback, or what.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nice seeing that confession of his love to Grindelwald, and it was one of those scenes that we've sort of had it hinted at, but we finally got it confirmed. He was in love with him. I don't think it was reciprocated by Grindelwald. I think it was a manipulation on his part, because we know that he's very sort of manipulative and can convince people to do what he wants when he wants them to do it. But it was nice to see that, you know, the reason why Dumbledore was part of this was because he was in love with him. And the things that Dumbledore obviously said, because a few things that Grindelwald says in this scene is that Dumbledore was one of the people that said that it was their birthright. It was Dumbledore that initially said that, and we sort of see why he said those things, and it was literally because he was blinded by the love for Grindelwald.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of Mads then in this film? I thought he was brilliant.
I really liked Matt's portrayal of Grindelwald. I think he's my favorite portrayal of Grindelwald so far. You know, with all the controversy, I don't know what to think about that, but I do think that he did a really good job. And like, had he been cast up front, like I wouldn't know the difference. But I really loved how Mads portrayed more of like the kind of crazy side, but also the charismatic side. I think you can see a lot more about why people are supporting him.
Yeah, definitely. His crazy was very subtle as well, and I like that about him. And in this scene in particular, like he refers to the Muggles as like animals, and he says, "Can you smell them?" And like the pure like disgust in his voice when he says it. And I think during one of the final scenes about there's one thing like. Obviously we're going to come into this later, but when the Qilin sort of approaching Dumbledore, and he does this sort of eye roll look, and it's like these really sort of dark moments that come out from him that he just portrayed really well. And I understand it. Like some of these scenes when he was like doing his speeches, like I understand why people would follow him. He's like a cool guy to follow. Like he's that charismatic, and it was just really nice to sort of see him portrayed. In my opinion, same as you, I think he was the best portrayal. But we've kind of had three portrayals, because obviously we had like, was it Grimes in the first one, or he Graves, that's the one. Yeah, he wasn't obviously actually looking like Grindelwald, but it was Grindelwald playing him. So yeah, I think he portrayed him the best, and I would have been happy for him to be throughout the whole movie. So obviously, as that scene moves forward, Dumbledore's then stood looking out the window. Reminiscing on the memory, or just coming out of his trance that he's just been in. Again, not very well explained. And it's interesting to see that he's constantly holding the Blood Pact, and it's like a constant reminder for him that he's, he feels responsible for pushing Grindelwald onto this path. And I think throughout the whole Harry Potter series, he blamed himself for most of the things that sort of go wrong. He likes to be in control, and when things go wrong, he then puts the blame on himself. So it's really quite nice humanizing his character, I think, through this film.
Yeah, for sure. I really like the looks we got into his character. I think that like um as we see a little bit more about his backstory and in this film, how we learn more about like why he really is such a powerful wizard and why he will be considered like the greatest wizard of all time when Harry, joins the wizarding world and everything. But seeing also like snippets of what we learned about in Harry Potter book 7, but still didn't have quite the whole story. I mean, we still don't quite have the whole story, but getting more snippets into that and what his relationship was like with Grindelwald.
Yeah, we're getting more sort of subtle reveals as it goes on. So hopefully we get more and more through the next film or films, whatever they decide to do. The next scene, obviously, from this then cuts to Newt, and he's in China. And he is looking for the Qilin, which is obviously about to give birth. I absolutely adore this creature. I think it's possibly my favourite creature in the whole wizarding world at the moment. The look of it is just glorious, with the mixture of the scales and the fur, the backstory, the lore behind it, and the way it's revered in the wizarding world. I think it sort of struggles with a very J.K. Rowlingism, with the fact that it's just chucked in there, and every child in the wizarding world is expected to know about this creature, and we've never heard of it through 7 years of Harry Potter and 2 films of Fantastic Beasts. This is the first we've heard of it, but I think to be a Harry Potter fan, you've got to accept some of these things being shoehorned in occasionally. But yeah, I absolutely love the creature and the lore behind it, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a gorgeous creature, and I really love it. And it's cool to see something that like the whole wizarding world just like respects so much. Is like this creature that can see your soul and whether you're pure at heart or whatever, however it describes it. But again, yeah, like it does come out of nowhere, and maybe it isn't quite as relevant necessarily at other times that we've seen it, but I mean this happens fairly often. I feel like things randomly change or come up or whatever, but it is like said to be a rare creature, so it would make sense that maybe it wasn't relevant at other times in the wizarding world.
Yeah, potentially. I wonder, while we're talking about it being rare, I'm going to throw a couple of my theories in throughout this. So I had a theory. We saw a very prominent sort of full moon shot as the sort of Newt was sailing into the Chinese forest, and I just wondered if like the full moon had something to do with the birthing process, which means it could be rare because of the full moon or something along those sort of lines. So yeah, I'd like to know more about it. Basically, I'd like there to be a sort of full on write up about it.
Yeah, for sure, that would be interesting. I think maybe even like rarer than that though, because I mean full moons happen every month.
Yeah, every month. Yeah, I suppose, but I don't know. Maybe yeah. Full moons are quite regular, I suppose. But if you can only birth anyone in that one day of the month, though, it makes them a lot more rare than most creatures, because they can be born any day of the month. Yeah. So yeah. And again, it was nice to see a fantastic beast actually being the important part of the story. Obviously, the main story arc throughout the whole first one was him trying to get his Fantastic Beast back, and then I think the Crimes of Grindelwald just sort of really suffered with the fact that it wasn't really a Fantastic Beast movie, and there wasn't really a beast at the center of the story, and obviously this one is, and it was really nice to see.
Yeah, for sure.
So
it was a nice return to that.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, obviously the Qilin's born in like this weird soft egg type thing, and Newt then obviously tries to get it into his suitcase, and at that point Credence and his cronies turn up and kill the mother Qilin. They use some sort of green curse, which initially I thought was a Vada Kedavra, but I don't think it is. It seems to leave some sort of scorch mark, and they hit it twice and it didn't die instantly. So it's either got sort of very strong scales or it's a different curse, but again, it just wasn't explained very well, unfortunately. And then we get this nice, really amazing sort of initial fight sequence with Newt running through the forest and trying to escape them.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how like Credence was kind of leading that expedition there, and how like maybe roles have changed a little bit in the 5-year time gap that we've got from Crimes of Grindelwald to here. So that was interesting to see
Yeah,
that there, and also his like how he has seemed to harness his magic a little bit,
yeah,
or quite a bit. I mean,
yeah.
we'll
He
see more later too, but
yeah, definitely. He seems very powerful, and I think that the giant spells that we see ripping him through the trees, like his spells have always been like really powerful. Obviously, we saw one at the end of the last movie, but we get to see a lot more of it now, and he's clearly a Dumbledore with the power that he's got going on there. So it was really cool to see him sort of step up into that more senior role within Grindelwald's followers. Um, so Newt's running away. He's got his suitcase that just randomly grows legs, I think. Not sure if there's a creature inside or the suitcase.
yeah, I'm
Again,
not sure about that either.
not explained very well, unfortunately. But the magic and everything else just looks incredible throughout this scene, and he inevitably gets sort of knocked out by a spell, and we get a nice scene where he's sort of floating in the water, and the suitcase is floating along next to him, and Pickett's nearly drowning, and it ends up with Credence taking the Qilin, and Newt then returning to the mother, and we get the nice reveal of the twin Qilins, and there was actually a second one born.
Oh my gosh, that made so much make sense. Like going into the films, I was confused by like stuff in the trailer, and I don't even know why I didn't think about the possibility that there would be two Qilins, but it
Yeah.
made so many things fit into place when that was real, that there were twin Qilins.
Yeah. There was obviously scenes where they each had one. Yeah, it was just really confusing, but the twin reveal was really nice. I also the one of the prophecies mentioned about like a dark twin and obviously rising from the water. So one of my initial thoughts as soon as I saw his twins, I was like, oh, I wonder if this has got something to do with the prophecy. It'd be interesting to see if that is something that does come up later on.
Yeah. But then like I guess reveal at the end, I don't know if I want to jump forward all the way, but like the reason there's twins is because there's like two
Two,
potentially great
yeah,
leaders. And
yeah,
so like that's a really interesting
yeah,
reason there. But like I mean a single Qilin can still
yeah.
sense who both of those like leaders should
Yeah,
be.
those leaders are because Grindelwald explains it in a later scene where I think it's one of the scenes coming up next. He sort of explains that Qilins signify the rise of a leader and changes within the wizarding world. So that explanation is, like I said, the lore behind these creatures is really cool, and the fact that there's two potential leaders, and obviously Dumbledore never wants that power. He said that from the beginning. Power would corrupt him, and he knows that. So he never wants that power, and he obviously inevitably refuses that power, and it was just a really nice scene for him, I think, at the end. We will obviously discuss it more when we get there, but you're right, it was just interesting to see the two. Obviously, Newt's taking a nap at this point, and they call upon his new creature, the Wyvern.
Yeah.
Great creature. I really like the look of it.
Oh yeah, it's a really cool one. It was cool to see how like he brought that creature to help save him, when things went wrong.
He
And
pre-planned.
how like it yeah, seeing like that, seeing the wyvern in the trailers, I thought it was just like this random creature in the wild, like picking him up out
Yeah,
of nowhere and kidnapping him. I don't
yeah,
know, but like it was really one of the creatures he already had was
yeah.
there to help him out of tricky spots.
Yeah, and the way it flies as well is it was just a really cool way of seeing it. Like it inflates itself like a balloon, carries them all up, and then when it's got enough altitude, it can spread its wings and fly. And it's just, I really like the creatures in this film were just great. I really loved every single one of them. So
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
the next scene is in Nurmengard. We sort of touched on this a bit. Credence presents Grindelwald with the Qilin, and obviously he explains about what Qilins are. And he then obviously sends Credence off to go and rest because Credence isn't very well during this film. And then he immediately decides to slit the throat of the Qilin, which was a traumatic scene.
Oh my goodness, I was shocked. I was so shocked when he did that.
Yeah.
Like I had just been like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. There's two Qilins, and then one of them's dead, and then that confused me. But obviously, like later he reanimates it to be able to manipulate it. But I was so surprised when that happened.
Yeah, I went to see it for the second time with my wife, and she's very much, she cares more about animals in movies than she does people. And if people die, she's not really fussed. But when the Qilin died, she was devastated in that moment. So it was again, it just instantly shows he cares for no one, and I like that scene, that sort of thing about him. So it was a nice addition, and obviously a double bluff for us, obviously seeing what he's going to do with it later. So the next scene is in Hogsmeade. Newt and Theseus go into the Hog's Head to go meet Dumbledore, and nobody seems to know anything about poor Aberforth. Bless him. They say they're here to speak to Dumbledore. He's like, "That is my brother," and they're like, "Oh, really?" Later on, it happens again, and I think it's funny for us, obviously, but at the same time, it's got to be quite sad for him that he's sort of always this forgotten brother. And even in the Harry Potter books, he doesn't even mention that he's got a brother. I think he says, "Oh yeah, I'm just very close with the landlord of the Hog's Head," and it's just a weird relationship they've got.
Yeah, for sure.
So they go upstairs to the first door on the left, which is where Aberforth tells them that Dumbledore's waiting, and we get the scene that was released from one of the trailers. Did you see the trailer with the? Yeah.
Yes, I saw that scene.
Brilliant. Yep. So yeah, we got the trailer scene that was released, and obviously it's Dumbledore explaining to Theseus what the Blood Pact is. This again was one of those scenes that could have been explained better for me, because obviously he shows what happens when he starts to think about going against Grindelwald, and it glows red and flies across the room, and the chain starts strangling him. But what would happen if he didn't have the chain on him? If he'd left it in Hogwarts, like what would happen then? Like if Grindelwald still had it, what would happen then? Like,
yeah, I know it is interesting to think about that. Something that's definitely not answered all the way, where like what exactly does the Blood Pact do? Because like it feels kind of like an unbreakable vow to me, but like with the unbreakable vow, it's like you break it and you die, and that's just the magic of it. But this one, it's like it feels like the physical thing has to be there, and it does like get up and move. Yeah. So maybe like it could move to wherever he is, even if he didn't have it on him. But like, yeah, what would happen if he didn't have it, or if like Grindelwald had it and Dumbledore thought about defying him, or vice versa? Like,
yeah, and
I don't know.
Where was the actual jewel of the Blood Pact going? Like, the chain was killing him. Was the jewel going to Grindelwald? Like, was it going to kill both of them? And if that's the case, then like, could Dumbledore have like took one for the team and just gone, I'm going to go against you. I'll take a death. You take a death, and it's very weird. I mean, the Blood Pact for me is the one thing I don't like about this film. Like, I really dislike about this film, and we'll obviously get into the scenes later on with the Blood Pact, but this is the one thing in this film that needs to be changed, in my opinion. I really didn't like it. So
interesting.
Yeah, we're getting to that later anyway. So the next scene again is back in Nurmengard, and we've got Credence in his bedroom. He's got a fly around him. I don't know whether that's sort of to symbolise the fact that he's dying potentially. Flies are normally associated with that in movies, but a bit of a weird scene. And then Queenie comes in and comes into Credence's room. We see his room. There was so much writing on the wall, and I really can't wait to get my hands on like an actual copy of this film so I can sort of break down all the writing on the wall. I just want to see what he's written. There's definitely secrets in there. And then we get like Queenie's character telling him that obviously Grindelwald asked her to sort of spy on him more than the others, and she doesn't tell him everything. So we sort of get a snippet into what Queenie's like in this film.
Oh yeah, I really loved Queenie in this film. Like, you can see that she had kind of some instant regret after she joined Grindelwald, and that like in this one she's kind of like working behind the scenes, just like in little subtle ways where like she can read everyone's minds, but and Grindelwald tries to pick her mind, but she doesn't tell him everything and stuff. And one thing that stuck out to me too is like Jacob later mentions like how intelligent Queenie is, and I never really thought about that, but really she is, and you can see that in this film a little bit, where she's kind of working behind the scenes a little bit in this
manipulating things. And I'd like to know what she's been going through for 5 years, because it's a long time.
Oh right? Yeah.
So she's obviously slightly pulling the strings behind the scenes, and hopefully trying to make some sort of, uprising in Grindelwald's ranks, and we can sort of see that with the way that she sort of tries to befriend Credence. So yeah, I think her character in this film was the best we've seen her so far as well. Like, you don't just get this, the happy, nice side of Queenie, you get the dark side of Queenie, and the real regret that she shows and the fear that she shows at some of the scenes is just brilliant. So the next scene, obviously moving on to her one true love, and we move to Jacob's bakery, and it's just gone to pot, unfortunately. Bless him. He's not doing very well, and he's having visions of Queenie being there. I was very confused by that scene initially, but he's definitely.
Oh yeah, me too. I saw that in the trailers, and I'm like, that's got to be a flashback. And then it shows up in the movie, and it's like, wait, she's actually there? And then she wasn't actually there, so like it made sense. But yeah, it was a little bit confusing for a second there.
Yeah, definitely. And then, like I say, his shop's just in sort of disrepair. There doesn't seem to be anyone in there, and he's obviously locking it up. So yeah, it's the real sort of aftermath of him over the last 5 years, and losing her and seeing her go over to the dark side. So it's sort of a horrible scene to really see a character that's been comic relief in that way. And then we obviously get the introduction of my new favorite character, and that is Lally. She's just fantastic.
Oh my goodness, I love Lally. She is so great. I think like she's like such a great addition, and we saw like a tiny snippet of her in Crimes of Grindelwald, but not enough to even know anything about her character. It was like blink and you miss it. I remember when like Jessica Williams was cast to like play a bigger role in this film, and I'm like, wait, who the heck is that? Yeah. But oh my goodness, I love Lally. She is awesome.
She's great. I literally had to Google who Lally was when it got announced that she was in the film. I was like, who is this character? Why is she? I've not seen her in the film. It was obviously just a picture in a book. So yeah, I was exactly the same as you, but I'm so glad that she put in there. I've got a note written down. It literally says American Mary Poppins, because that's what she reminds me of. The way that she is so confident and oozes this confidence, and the way the magic is all around her. She just reminded me of like this really epic sort of Mary Poppins character that's sort of taken everyone along on her journey. And every scene that she was in, I think she just sort of stole the show. She was just brilliant. And in my my film review, I sort of mentioned that in these films we haven't really had the sort of role model character. We've got sort of Tina, who's obviously incredibly powerful, incredibly intelligent, head of the Aura office now. Obviously that gets revealed in this. We'll sort of discuss that in just a minute, but she's also this sort of shy, reclusive type person, and not the outgoing and a bit awkward, and she, not necessarily the biggest role model, but she's obviously still a role model because she's successful. And then you've got Queenie, who's been portrayed sort of differently throughout each of the films, but she's mainly been used as a love interest. And as you said, she is very intelligent, but she's not obviously portrayed as like the most powerful, the most intelligent, or she's a bit of a damsel in distress sometimes in a way. And we haven't really had this Hermione character that is smart, intelligent, funny, brilliant, and Lally comes in and is that character, and I think she is just absolutely perfect in this film.
Oh yeah, for sure. I loved seeing her more, and I just fell in love with her character of the film.
She was great. Obviously, we're first introduced to her. She's got her cousin Frank and Stanley, and they come out and pretend to like attack her. And I thought she was like imperious in them first of all. The way it was sort of played out, I thought she was like, well, you could be more menacing, and then I thought she was doing some sort of imperious curse and making them do it, but then obviously they're there to try and help her out, and it was all to sort of show Jacob in this shining light. He is like the one good guy. He's worthy of wielding Mjolnir, and he's the nice guy, and I think she has a line, and he's like the average Smo that the world needs now, and it was a really nice way of introducing him in that light.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is also a good time to talk a little bit about like the comedic moments in the film, because a lot of those are Lally, but there's also a lot of other ones that I feel like this film definitely like improved upon the previous one, in that it did include some good comedy and comedic moments that really hit well.
Yeah, they definitely improved it. I mean, they've always had funny moments in the Harry Potter films, and they've been sort of very British, dry, funny humor. But this one, it felt like Marvel humor's obviously its own genre of humor now. Like they've got these moments that just sort of come in and they're just hilarious, and I think they've sort of merged the two together to make Harry Potter humor now, and it was just executed really well.
Yeah, it was super good.
So obviously she comes up to Jacob. Obviously he realizes who she is. He's like, I want no part of this. You don't know what I've been through. And she does a nice recap for everyone who hasn't watched these films over the last 4 years, and basically explains the last 2 movies for us, which is a really interesting choice from the director. But obviously, I think if a few people haven't watched the films, it was nice for them to get a catch up. So,
weird. Yeah, and it's been like 3.5 years since a lot of people even saw Crimes of Grindelwald. Just went once and we're like, I'm good.
Yeah. So interesting choice, and it wasn't out of place, but it was interesting to see her do it. I think it added to her character as well, actually, because she knows everything. So yeah, it was really
cool. I liked how it showed that he's like, you don't know what I've been through, and then she's like, well, in fact.
Yeah, I am Mary Poppins. I don't know, there's just something about Mary Poppins about it. I loved it, but yeah, it was really nice scene to see. And then obviously she locks up his shop, changes his clothes, and they get a portkey and somehow appear in the Flu network. Somehow.
Yeah, I was confused by that too. I totally saw those clips in the trailers, and I noticed, like, in one of my last videos, I was like, her book is a portkey, and then I saw like the clip where they show up and it looks like they're coming out of a fireplace with the green flames. I intentionally left that clip out of my video that I made before the movie, because I'm like, well, this might actually disprove that I think she's taking him to the Great Wizarding Express.
Yeah.
But that is what happened. It's just like somehow it like combined with the Flu network or something.
It's so confusing. It was, again, not explained very well, unfortunately, but it worked. They got to the Great Wizarding Express, and they meet up with the rest of the team, and obviously at this point Newt explains the plan, and the plan is to have no plan, basically.
Or like 5 different plans that each person has their own.
Yeah, it's a weird plot, but at the same time, I think it really works. And I've seen quite a few people complaining about the sort of overlapping plots, and they don't really like it.
Really?
But I think it's another one of those. I think Dumbledore was pulling the strings all the way through Harry Potter. I think he knew most of the stuff that was going on, and I think again in this film he's pulling the strings. And in this scene, like a lot of characters get given items that they specifically need at specific times. So, for example, Theseus gets the tie thing that he gets, and it turns out to be a portkey. And he needs it to escape the prison. And there's only a couple of ways that we know portkeys work, and we see both of them in Goblet of Fire. So the first one right at the beginning is obviously the Quidditch World Cup, and it's a timed portkey, and you've got to be touching it at this time, and if you're touching it at this time, you teleport to the Quidditch World Cup. And then the second time we see a portkey is in the maze, and anytime you touch it, it seems to teleport you between these 2 locations. So obviously this tie is touched by so many characters throughout the whole film. Theseus is holding it, the old guy, Teddy carries it, so many people have got hold of this tie. I don't think it's going to be the maze portkey, it's going to be the timed portkey, which then to me says that potentially Dumbledore knows the exact moment that they are going to need to teleport as they are pulled off of this cliff into the Manticore's mouth, and he knows the exact moment that they're going to need to use it because it's set to go off at that time. And it would be a very Dumbledore thing to do, and I don't know whether he himself can see the future or if he's working with someone who can. I don't know if we're within the timeframes of like Cassandra Trelawney or something on those sort of lines, but I think everything that he gives to those characters, so obviously Bunty gets a note which obviously explains about the suitcases, and Jacob gets the wand, which we're coming to in a minute, and Lally gets the book. So all of these characters are getting things they need specifically to use at specific times. It just seems to have some sort of foresight for me from Dumbledore's book.
Yeah, it's super wild. And like with Theseus's tie, I mean I don't know if it's specifically tied because timed, because that's so wild. But I was thinking about that as well, like yesterday, and I'm like, what? How does that portkey actually work? And I was wondering if maybe like it was set to go off when like both Theseus and Newt were touching it. And I don't know if that's exactly the answer, but that could possibly be an answer, because like having an exact time when Theseus is falling into the Manticore's lair is like crazy.
That's very
and then also and then also I think with like all of the different plans going on at once, like that's something that I personally liked. Like apparently there's people who maybe didn't like that so much, but I personally really like that as someone who like went into the film knowing so much about it. It kept me super engaged the whole time, because since the characters didn't really know exactly what was going on, it made it more mysterious to me. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and I appreciate we're also probably coming from this from a slightly different perspective than most people, because most people haven't gone through it frame by frame of every single trailer or footage that's been released. So yeah, we've probably got a slight more insight to what's going on. So yeah, I can imagine that, you know, it's different for us. But yeah, I mean, that's very interesting about it. It might need both of them. I never thought about that. So yeah, both of them could need to touch it for it to activate. But again, it just sort of shows that Dumbledore seems to know these things, and I think he's pulling all these strings, and he actually has got a master plan, even though he said he hasn't, and they're just trying to confuse Grindelwald. So,
for sure.
But obviously, in this scene, Jacob gets the wand, and it's Snakewood wand, which I think we've only ever heard of once, and that was for Salazar Slytherin's wand. Which was really interesting. On the Wizarding World website, it says Snakewood had magical properties and could be used as a wand wood. Garrick Ollivander did not use this wood when he created his wands, however, Grigorovich did. So it'd be interesting to know where Dumbledore's got this wand from. Snakewood's quite rare. Not many people have got this wand. Maybe he's sort of followed up from Grindelwald for the Elder Wand, and has gone to Grigorovich to obviously see if he can get some information out of him, and then has got the wand made then. But it's just an interesting addition that it's such a rare wand type for Jacob.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't really think too much about that. I didn't have a chance to look up Snakewood, because I didn't really I didn't really think too much of it, but they did keep calling it like a Snakewood wand. It is made out of snakewood. Of course, it doesn't have the core, so it's not a real wand. But
yeah, unfortunately, I was one of my theories was that he was a wizard, and part of me was kind of hoping that, because I spotted Queenie and Jacob together in one of the trailers. And it was during like the end fight scene, so I was like, I'm sure they're going to get back together. And I think the reason why is because Jacob's a wizard, and Queenie no longer has to be on Grindelwald's side because she's not marrying a Muggle anymore. So that was one of my theories. But I was a bit devastated when he wasn't. But at the same time, it keeps the charm of him being a Muggle.
Oh yeah, for sure. I didn't think they would make him a wizard, because I feel like that would kind of undercut his role in the past two films. And then it was also really significant that he was a Muggle in this film as well.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. I don't know if I actually thought they would. I just would have liked them to.
Liked the idea that maybe he was.
Yeah. So at the end of the scene, obviously, Kama goes off to do his plan and infiltrate Grindelwald, and Bunty goes off and takes a suitcase, and she tells him that, you know, I'm taking this, even you're not allowed to know everything that's going on. So she obviously then leaves and goes her own way, and the rest of the guys then have to go to the German Ministry of Magic and meet up with Vogel, who's like the current head of the International Confederation of Wizards, which is obviously what they're voting for now, for the next person to sort of succeed him. And they're there to deliver a message, and it's a very Dumbledore message, and it is to do what's right, not easy. And it was a nice sort of callback, because I'm sure there's a very similar line in Harry Potter.
Yeah, it was a very Dumbledore quote for sure.
Yeah. We're introducing the scene to the other candidates, which is Leo Dow and Valencia Santos. I liked Valencia's character. I felt quite sorry for Leo Dow, because I don't even know if he had a line in the movie.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about him at this point, really. So.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know much about Valencia either. It's just she got a bit more screen time than Leo, so they were there. they were there. That's all I can really say about them. But during this time, obviously, Vogel then does his speech, which sort of throws a bit of a spanner in the works for the rest of the movie. And he says that all voices need to be heard, even ones which are disagreeable. And he then absolves Grindelwald of all of his crimes.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even think about the fact that that would be something that would be happening in this film. Because, yeah, technically Grindelwald was a fugitive. And so... like that was something that had to happen before he could run for Supreme Mugwump, or head of. They never actually used that term, yeah. But it was interesting because with Anton Vogel's characterization, it was kind of confusing what side he was even on.
I still don't know.
For like the majority. Like, because at the beginning, you've got some stuff where, well, Theseus says anyone would be better than Vogel, so maybe he doesn't have the support of some of the magical community, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's a terrible person. And then there's this spot where he says, like, we have to let Grindelwald run so that their voices will be heard, the people's voices will be heard, but he can't win. And then, like, later at the end, he's like, legit just with Grindelwald and his whole crowd, like trying to help Grindelwald win.
Yeah. So. I'm so confused. Like when he said that bit in the middle, like we need to let him run, but not win, and because otherwise there'd be bloodshed if they don't get to have their vote. I was thinking, such a great plan, genius. I like that. I really like this guy. And then at the end, he's literally trying to convince people that the dead Qilin is alive and it's dying while he's holding it. It's just like, where are your allegiances? I don't know. I don't know where.
I think part of the problem was like trying to confuse the audience, or not confuse them, but trick the audience into thinking he wasn't on Grindelwald's side, and so then it ended up being a little bit confusing. But I do think that. Yeah, I do think that he was secretly, like, aligned with Grindelwald the whole time, and that just, like, when he was with certain people, he had to put on a face to make it seem like he wasn't.
Yeah, so, I mean, this does move on quite nicely to the next scene. Obviously, at the end of this one, Theseus gets captured by Grindelwald's supporters after trying to arrest them, and then we see Newt and that trying to find him in the German Ministry of Magic a bit later on, and they just seem to not have any idea about it. So if Vogel is obviously the head of everything, but also potentially the head of Germany, does that mean the whole of Germany are working with him? It is a bit of a weird one. It wasn't really explained, but at the same time, it's sort of like it sounds like most of the German ministry are like on Grindelwald's side.
Yeah, and maybe it's a possibility.
Terrifying.
Or yeah, right. Or at the very least, like Vogel and his inner circle.
Yeah, potentially. So the scene after, obviously, this is back in Hogsmeade. This is a bit of a filler scene for me. I don't think it was necessarily needed, but it does nicely portray the button heads like goats for Dumbledore and for Aberforth, where Dumbledore's obviously trying to bring up conversation about Ariana, and Aberforth is just like, look, I was there. You don't need to tell me. Just shut up. Which is, again, I think is like a great capture of his character throughout this film. I think he was brilliant. Anyway, I loved his portrayal. I loved seeing more of why he is the way he is.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was super excited to see more of Aberforth in this film. When I saw him in the first trailer, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to see more Aberforth. And I was super excited. And his portrayal was really, really good in this film. I liked it.
Yeah, and obviously the big reveal that comes later sort of explains why he's this recluse. Because if all of this stuff has happened to him up until now, why would he want to go for it again? So it just sort of sets up this like recluse character for it. I just think it was really nice.
Yeah.
The end of the scene ends with some of the writing in the mirror that we see, and I think this was the do you know what it's like to be alone writing that we saw from the trailer. And then interestingly, from like a filmmaking point of view, it cuts straight to Credence, and it's sort of obviously, Credence is already writing in the mirror in the previous scenes, but it cuts straight to him just to sort of signify actually it is these two having a text message conversation between each other, so through their magical Nokia mirrors. But yeah, it's it was sort of pretty blatant by this point. I was like, okay, they're messaging each other. Why are they messaging each other? That's a bit weird.
Yeah, I know. It was before the reveal. It's like, why him? Like,
Yeah.
why? And also, like, who instigated it? I guess, like, they still don't even say that.
No, they
But,
don't.
like, it's interesting that the two of them would be communicating when in my mind I was still living on, like, all these other theories
Yeah.
that didn't come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely. It was a confusing scene it was a confusing reveal for me initially. I was like, I don't understand this. The mirrors was a confusing thing for me as well. Because it's like, how did he get one of those mirrors into Nurmengard? That was another thing that wasn't really explained, or whether it's just any mirror.
Yeah.
I don't know. But again, just
Could be.
another one of those things that wasn't quite explained very well.
Could be enchanted after the fact as well.
Yeah, it could
like
be.
It was a normal mirror, and then
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is again, they just didn't necessarily explain it very well. So the next scene is obviously Credence, and this scene I thought sort of signified that it sort of proved that Grindelwald was lying to Credence, because the Phoenix is obviously seen flying around Credence, and I don't know if it was Queenie or if it was Rosia that says to him, why is the Phoenix still here? And sort of Grindelwald then turns around and says, oh, maybe it's because he can sense what he's about to do, obviously trying to kill a Dumbledore, which to me then says that he knows that he's not a Dumbledore, so the Phoenix shouldn't still be around. That was just my sort of take on the scene, but it'd be interesting to see that, definitely he is lying to Credence.
Yeah, and I didn't really catch that part, but that is an interesting thought, because there isn't really a way that Grindelwald should know who Credence really is, because just the timing's not right. Except, I mean, like, he can, see vision, see the future, so there's obviously ways for him to know things that potentially he shouldn't know. But it does make sense that maybe he could think he's just outright lying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. He should have left Godric's Hollow by the point that all this happened. So,
yeah, because he would have left right after Ariana died, and then based on the timing with Credence, it seems like he would have been born about a year or two later.
Yeah, so I think I worked out that he would have been around 16, Aberforth, 16, 17, which is
16 or 17 is what I worked out as well.
Yeah, cool. So,
depending on the exact timing, time of year, etc., etc.
Yeah. So it's like it's all completely plausible. I liked that reveal anyway. I really did like the reveal. It was different than what I was expecting, but I really did like the reveal.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it also kind of just slid in there. Like, it wasn't like, it didn't feel like a huge reveal. And then I'm like, wait, did they just reveal it? And then my thoughts about the fact that Credence is Aberforth's son is that I feel like that was one of the theories that someone mentioned up front, and then they're like, nah, that can't be it. It's too simple. Or the fact that Grindelwald specifically says that Albus is Credence's brother, and so if he's lying, why is he not lying that much? Or where it's just kind of like a half truth, but maybe Grindelwald even just thinks he's outright lying and doesn't even realize that Credence is in fact Dumbledore's nephew.
It was such a weird, because it was very much done. We'll talk about this scene now. So it was very much done from the from the point of view of Newt, because Newt sort of overheard it very discreetly, and we overheard it very discreetly, and it was just sort of that is one of the biggest reveals in this film, and you've just had it in a passing conversation. It's just I haven't had time to process this yet, and you're just. It was such a weird moment, but at the same time, I genuinely liked the way they did it. They didn't make a big deal of it. It was just look, he's your son. He needs your help. It was okay, I'll roll with that. That's great. And yeah, I think you're right as well. Yeah, somebody did say, I saw a theory video ages and ages ago. It was he's Aberforth's brother, and I was just nah, he's not. It's too simple. But yeah, it just got dismissed, and nobody went with it. Nobody went with it at all. And I think that obviously the run-in theory was that it was Ariana's Obscurus, which is what links them together. Which was obviously revealed in the same scene that Ariana did have an Obscurus, so there was elements of that were right. The one thing about that scene I was disappointed with was I'd like to have seen that backstory, not just heard it talk about. I'd like to have seen a flashback to them having the fight. And Ariana
were there even really any flashbacks in this film?
Not really.
Like,
except maybe that first restaurant scene, but we don't really know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, true. We don't really know about that one.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice to see some of that stuff for sure.
But at least we got some things confirmed in it. And the only other thing of note for that scene was they obviously had the Phoenix feather, and instantly in my head I was like, oh, "Is that Harry's wand? Is that going Harry's wand?" And I was like, "Oh, I wonder." So
Good.
is this? We still don't know who the Phoenix is. We don't know if it's Fawkes or if it's another Phoenix. So we don't know that. Because Dumbledore, obviously, a Phoenix is supposed to produce itself to a Dumbledore, but we don't know whether obviously Fawkes produced himself during the final battle, or whether this Phoenix will then go on to be Fawkes.
I personally think that the Phoenix that has, shown itself to the Dumbledores is Fawkes, and always has, and always will be, and that this Phoenix is Fawkes, but obviously that hasn't been confirmed or denied yet. So
I'm with you on that one, but yeah, like as soon as I saw the feather, I was like, oh, is that a tear feather? Is that Harry's wand? Like, that'd be really cool, just to see that before it's obviously made into or obviously Voldemort's. But yeah, that was interesting. But we're rewind backwards now. Sorry, it's fine. Like that was it was the right time to talk about it, because obviously we were talking about the rest of it. So we are then in obviously talking about Credence potentially with his Phoenix. Why is it staying with him? Grindelwald has another couple of visions there, which were in the pane of glass, and he sees Dumbledore again. And I think this is Dumbledore in Berlin, so I think he sees that Dumbledore's going to Berlin, and I think he also sees Yusuf coming to meet him at Nurmengard, so he obviously prepares for that in the morning, which is again, I just really like seeing his visions and seeing that he's potentially one step ahead of everyone.
Yeah, for sure. And I like how they kind of just like slid the visions into this one, instead of like being this huge thing with like him presenting these huge visions to other people, but that he's just like that he's just like got these like small little tidbits all the time that he's seeing.
Yeah, it's really nice to see that power portrayed by him, and like I said, it makes him more scary that he could be one step ahead all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
So the next scene is in the Auror office. Obviously they're looking for Theseus, and as we've said, the German ministry is denying anything about it. And he sees Helmut, but they obviously block him off, and he can't get to him. And then at that point, they obviously leave the ministry and meet up with Dumbledore again. And then Dumbledore obviously starts pulling his strings at this point again, and he tells Lally and Jacob to go to this candidate's banquet and help stop an assassination attempt, and he sets Newt off to go and try and save Theseus by giving him like the paperwork that he needs to get in. And during this time, Dumbledore's got his little compass with thingy's face on it. Sorry, his name's got out of my head. Credence's face on his compass. Sort of
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's sort of signifying. I think he's just sort of saying that Credence is close and the battle's about to take place, basically. And Newt also does ask him where the suitcase is, and Dumbledore's like, "Don't worry, it's in a safe place." And we then get to one of the most confusing scenes, in my opinion, of the whole movie, and that is Bunty going into this shop to get the suitcases replicated. And I don't know if you found this as confusing as I did, but why is she getting a muggle to replicate suitcases that are wizarding, and also you can just cast a Gemini spell?
Oh my gosh, yes!
And instantly replicate it. Like, I could not understand this scene. Again, I've come up with a theory, this is what I like to do, that potentially the Gemini spell, there's like a counter curse for it, potentially. So if they've obviously used a Gemini spell, a wave of the wand, or the replicas disappear. So it's not viable. Or either that, or you can just detect the magic from the Gemini spell. But it wasn't explained very well. So it was just one of those things that I didn't really understand why she was doing it. If you can replicate them without an explanation, if they literally all it would have taken was I need to get these replicated, or if we read the note, get these replicated, we can't use magic because of this. Do you know what I mean? Like, if there was just some simple explanation, oh yeah, we haven't used a Gemini curse because he could just stop it with this. Like, it just needed that one line just to make it perfect. But it was just a weird scene for me.
Yeah, it would. I wonder, because it would be interesting to read up on that Gemini curse a little bit more, because or charm, I don't know what it's
probably a charm, yeah.
But because I feel like it does feel like the replicas wouldn't be true replicas, so that would make sense. But yeah, it is the type of thing that really just needs a sentence of explanation, and so it could have been explained better.
Definitely,
really easily.
Definitely could have been explained better. But Bunty's character is my least favourite in this film.
Really?
Because I love her. I really like her character. But she has no character progression. Throughout this whole film. Her whole being in this film is loving Newt. Like, her whole persona is the fact that she loves Newt. Even in this scene, when she's off doing stuff for Dumbledore, the conversation turns into the fact that her husband forgot who she is, and she's doing it because her husband keeps forgetting, and she just keeps referring to Newt as her husband, and it's like... And then we get the one scene at the end where obviously she sees the photo inside the briefcase, and she's just sort of turns around and goes, well, sometimes you just know. And it's like, really? Is that her character progression? Like, she's just suddenly not in love with Newt now because she can see that he's in love with Tina. Like, I don't know. That was my main issue with her character. Like I said, I liked her portrayal. I think she's really cool, and I really want to see more of her. But I want to see more of her not in the same way that we've seen her.
That's fair. I really appreciated the fact that she had more of a role in this film, where she was kind of the one who pulled the whole plan together in the end. But that's true. It kind of does diminish her character a little bit in the fact that half of her characterization is that she has this unrequited love for Newt. So
it's just I just wanted her to have even if it's just a moment in the film where Newt's in trouble during the final battle, and she has to choose between saving Newt or getting the mission done. And that realization of, actually, my world doesn't revolve around this man, I need to do this. Like, that sort of moment would have been nice to see, and it would have been a more substantive moment rather than just there's a picture of her in the suitcase, I'm going to stop loving him now. That's something I would have liked to have seen, basically.
Yeah.
So the next scene is Yusuf arriving at Nurmengard. We get a nice shot of Grindelwald's logo up above the Nurmengard doorway in this, and I just really like seeing it. I just thought it looked really cool with the architecture, but just a random point for me to bring up. Obviously at this point, Grindelwald's like, what are you doing here? And Yusuf then plays another double bluff, and I was like, oh, okay, this is weird. And he's like, Dumbledore's asked me to come and spy on you, what do you want me to tell him? And you're sort of like thinking, oh, wait a second. I don't know where Yusuf's allegiance lie after the last film. Like, he's very conflicted, but like that moment then was like really weird. And obviously Queenie backs it up by saying he still holds you responsible for his sister's death, but everything else he said is true. And then he removes the memory of Lita from him, and it's sort of like, oh my god, is he now against us? Like, that's it was a really good double laugh. I was really I'm really happy with this scene.
Yeah, I think it went a lot differently than I expected it to, because of that double bluff, because of the fact that he was like pretend to be like going from Dumbledore to Grindelwald, and then like I don't know if I can even explain it well, but it was to the point where they're like, even I wasn't really doubting that he was actually switching sides, but it was a good way to portray like there was like, it was a really good way of like confusing Grindelwald to the point where he thought he was on his side.
Yeah. There was a moment of hesitation when he asked to remove the memory that sort of made me think, yeah, he's on Dumbledore's side still. But then when he removed memory after that, I was like, I don't know where his loyalty is now.
Well, yeah, and then it's also interesting though, because I was thinking him using the fact that Grindelwald killed Lita as like his, I guess, weakness against supporting Grindelwald was smart, because it's not like he actually had a relationship with Lita.
No.
And so like that was something to trick Grindelwald into thinking he was fully pledging his allegiance to him, but it wasn't really anything he was losing. So
I didn't even think about that. I genuinely, you're right. Yeah, he didn't have a relationship with her. Yeah, so that was, it was a trouble bluff. That's amazing. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, great point. So the next scene, obviously, Yusuf's now gone with him. The next scene is in the streets of Berlin, and it is the big duel with Dumbledore and Credence. And I cannot wait to get into this scene frame by frame. Like, so much happens, and none of it's explained, but it was just glorious to watch.
Oh yeah, it was so well done, like with the dueling and everything, and all the special effects, Credence and his Obscurus, and then like moving into the train or cable car or whatever it was, and like just all of the spots. I saw something where like they were saying they wanted to make all the dueling in this film feel as great as or better than the duel between Dumbledore and Voldemort in the fifth Harry Potter film. And I'm like, yep, this is where they're putting everything into this scene.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I don't know what happened, like the whole raindrop moment, like bringing them into the Mirrorverse. Like he suddenly channeled Doctor Strange all of a sudden, but it was I just can't wait to dive into it. And also,
like, the people didn't disappear right away either.
No.
And so, like, I'm interested to figure out exactly what was going on there, but it is one of the things that I feel like wasn't explained, which is one of my main complaints about the film, is that there's a lot of things that are just like, wait, what?
We've used magic make this happen. That's that's literally how they explain most of it. But the people didn't disappear until they were killed as such. But then obviously they weren't killed when they brought them back with the Deluminator. I don't know what happened in that scene, but I just love watching it, and that's about the most I can really say about it.
Exactly.
And obviously, Dumbledore does say to him, things are not what they appear. We didn't know about you, but he doesn't give him the full reveal at this point. He's, we didn't know about you. We didn't mean to abandon you. But things are not sort of what they seem.
Yeah, I know. At that point, I was still thinking, Ariana's Obscurus.
Yeah, same.
And like you see the Obscurus coming back to him, it's like, ooh.
Yeah, and did you notice when he was using the Deluminator that the Obscurus like moved away?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, is he getting rid of the Obscurus there? Like, and then it came back. I was like, oh no, he's not.
Yeah, he was just like separating it to keep him from being able to use his magic or something of that sort.
Yeah,
so.
I think it was a protection sort of thing rather than anything. Yeah. So the next scenes sort of hop about a lot actually in the play of themselves. So we're just going to go through them one scene at a time. So the first one is at the Erkstag, which is the German prison. I did write the name down.
That is what it's called.
Yeah. So it's the Erkstag. And obviously Newt arrives. He hands over his paperwork to this quite comedy gold old guy. I really liked him in the scene. I thought everything he did was just hilarious. He reminded me a bit of Filch, like that sort of comedy.
Yep.
And then obviously he says, where is he being kept? And the bloke says something along the lines of, "He's your brother." And he's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "He'd be the one that looks like your brother." And I was like, that's brilliant comedy. But obviously Newt gets all of his stuff taken off of him. His creatures are gone. His wand's gone, and he's obviously got to go search for him. He gets like a little glowy bug. I thought it was a fairy in my sort of trailer breakdowns. He gets like some sort of glow bug in a lantern. He has to go off and search this cavernous cave, and the Newt brilliance begins when he comes across these little tiny manticores. And it's just, these scenes for Newt are just what makes his character brilliant. I love it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I loved this one. Like, some of the scenes, like the one with like the Erumpent in the first film, is like really cool, but also kind of like, I don't know how I completely feel about it.
Yeah.
But like this one was like really well done, really showed him with the creatures, and also had like the comedic moments as well. And I really loved this one.
It also had like the horrifying moments in this scene as well.
Yes,
Like this
yes,
scene turned dark. The first time I watched it, I was sat, and in front of me was a mother and like I presume her daughter and two of her daughter's friends, and the body gets thrown back up in half, and the little manticores just devour what's left of it, and these girls just in front of me just all like just receded into themselves, and it was just, yeah, I couldn't. They went further than I thought they would in that moment. So
yeah, yep.
it was an interesting take, but I liked it. I mean, these films are also for the people like us who obviously grew up younger with the Harry Potter series and are now adults. So the fact they're adding these sort of more sinister moments in, I like. At the end of the day, they are at war, so people are going to die, and
yep,
it's things we're going to see. So I really did like that. Obviously, we've got him doing his limbic mimicry dance throughout the whole scene, and Theseus joining on it as well was just absolutely brilliant. The giant manticore. So,
yes.
do you think they grow to be that big, or do you think it's been magically made big?
Well, that's a great question because I feel like they retconned everything we know about manticores.
Yeah, completely.
Because like my prior understanding of manticores would be that they would be, I don't know, approximately the size of, say, a griffin or a hippogriff.
Yeah.
So a little bit bigger than human size, not that large.
Yeah.
But then they also had the face of a human and the part lion as well, and so that's definitely not what they look like. So that's a great question that I hadn't really considered.
So I
They're
don't
so
know
tiny,
because the Scroots are supposed to grow gigantic. So does that come from the manticore? Maybe, I don't know. And are these ones just little tiny
probably
babies?
because fire crabs aren't particularly large.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird thought that I had. I think it might be a bit of both. I think they probably get massive, but they've probably made this one even more massive. And another question I want to know answered as well is like his Doc Ock tentacle things. Can he see through those? Because he looked to be looking. I don't know. It was just there's a lot of questions I had. I wanted answered about that creature, and hopefully they can release something, or an updated version of the Fantastic Beasts book with more information about the creatures that we see.
Yeah. So. It may very well do that. They did that after the first film, so.
So obviously the end of the sequence, you've got the scene with Teddy and Pickett. I love the moment where obviously Pickett falls out of the shelving and Teddy jumps up and it looks like he's trying to save him, but he's just going for the galleons. Brilliant comedy.
That was great. Yeah.
I was really proud of this scene as well because I literally in one of the trailer breakdowns put this scene in order and I got it exactly right. So I was really chuffed with that. Yeah, really chuffed with that. And obviously they portkey out and end up in Hogwarts, where they meet up with the rest of the gang from the end of that scene. So the other scene that goes on at the same time as this is the candidates' dinner. So obviously they're all sat down for dinner and then Grindelwald's car is coming in outside. He has another vision in the car, and it's of Jacob aiming his wand at him. And then they're like, "Don't get out of the car; it's too dangerous." And he's like, "No, I'm getting out." And he's amongst his followers, and this is where Vogel obviously says about letting him run and all this sort of stuff. My thought was that maybe he was happy to get out amongst the followers because he's already seen a vision of him after that, so he knows that he's not going to get injured in the followers. So then obviously he turns up at the dinner, and you get like a really amazing moment for Queenie and Jacob. When Jacob sees her, he sort of stands up and he's like, Queenie, and the fear on her face then when she knows that he's there and is in danger, like the fear on her face then was just captured like perfect. I just loved seeing she's obviously still in love with him and really concerned for his well-being, and she didn't expect him to be part of this.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely surprised her to see him there. So
yeah, And then, as obviously the dinner goes on, Lally's obviously looking out for this assassin, which just looks like the most obvious assassin in the world.
Oh my gosh. The people behind me in the theater were like, look at that eyeliner.
Yeah. It was just the most obvious. Like, honestly, they casting call assassin looking person. Yeah, that you'll do. It just the most obvious looking assassin, and it wasn't in a world with magic and magical spells. He decides to try and use poison as well, which is just another one of those sort of things. I thought, really, okay. I suppose it gives Lally an opportunity to stop it, rather than having to like shield charm from across the room or something like that. But that's going on. Lally then obviously leaves Jacob to go and stop the assassination attempt, like the actual assassination attempt, and then Jacob confronts Grindelwald, which again, he seems to have every single element of Hogwarts in him, like the bravery of going up to the one of the most powerful wizards of all time and just drawing a fake wand at him is just unreal.
Yeah, oh my goodness. And with the wand too, we didn't mention this earlier when we were talking about the wand, I guess, but I had totally thought that the wand would like have tricks up its sleeve, like the wand was enchanted itself. Mm-hmm. Because of what we saw in the trailers, but it was actually Lally who just like enchanted it in that moment to make that Stormcloak to keep him from really getting as in trouble as he was about to get,
and just cause a massive distraction for everyone. Like, and not she didn't get herself in trouble then as well. Like, she sort of moved herself away from it by making him the main target of everyone's focus and not show her actually getting involved in the fight. It was just him being the assassin, because obviously was it Belgium Minister of Magic or whatever it was, like his missive was like assassin, and then instantly like uproar happens, and that the magic in that scene was just great. Like, it looked so good. Obviously,
and with like the book when she uses that to return back.
Yeah, the staircases, and either one of them run, and Queenie at that moment as well, firing a chair back to sort of protect him.
Yes,
and I was like, yes, she is fighting for us. Yeah,
a little thing that no one else noticed.
Yeah,
that they wouldn't see that Queenie's actually trying to help Jacob out a little bit.
And I liked the helmet in this scene as well. Like, showed he was actually really quite powerful as well. Like, he's an aura for a reason, and he nearly stopped them. And obviously, they managed to escape with the book, and the flames are chasing them, and they use the portkey again, and also return to Hogwarts, which is obviously where they meet up again in the next scene. A really nice moment in this. I like seeing the teacher side of Lally, because she's sat down with the students and she's like, I think you should take charms. Like, that was a nice moment. I just like, we see how epic she is, but also she's still a teacher, so it's just a nice moment.
Yeah.
Jacob interaction with the kids is just great. Like, he's just great in everything he does. He really is just a perfect character. And no, this is my wand. You're not having my wand. This is Snakewood. It's really rare. And
it's so fun too, because like he's so oblivious to so much of like wizarding culture as well, that there's just like the little funny moments where he thinks like he's like basically pretending he's like this powerful whatever, but like really all these kids could probably take him,
Yeah. Oh yeah, easily. And the Slytherin's obviously playing a bit of a prank on him, and I just really loved the scene. I thought it was a really nice, just little inclusion of happiness after everything's gone like wrong, basically. So I really like that, and obviously one thing I did find weird is all of these students wasn't watching the Quidditch match. There's a lot of students in the Great Hall not watching the Quidditch. Like, was
there a Quidditch match going on?
Yeah, as it showed.
Just a practice?
See, I thought it was a Quidditch match because I'm
okay.
not 100% sure. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but like when they first apparated there, Newton Theseus, like you could see the Quidditch stand in the background, and there was obviously loads and loads of Quidditch players around it, but I could have sworn there was like movement in the stands, and I just thought it was really weird.
Okay, yeah.
I'd rather be watching Quidditch.
I'll be 100% honest here. I probably wouldn't be watching the Quidditch matches.
See, I would literally watch a TV series where they fake a Quidditch World Cup. And literally, it's just fake Quidditch World Cup. They just play all the films and obviously it's set up who's going to win. But I'd watch that. I'd literally sit and watch that. I think that'd be great.
That would be funny. Yeah.
So you wasn't devastated during the Goblet of Fire when they missed out the Quidditch World Cup then?
Not necessarily. I mean, Quidditch is fun to watch in the movies, but if I were an actual, wizard going to Hogwarts, then I probably wouldn't be participating in the sports side of things.
Yeah. So I definitely would. But I suppose I would, there's a lot more fun things to do as well. But I think I'd definitely be there. But
yeah,
anyway.
I'd be the head of the chess club.
yeah. That'd be fun. Exploding snap and but yeah. We digress. So obviously,
I'm sorry to get you off track.
Yeah, they obviously discuss the final plan. Dumbledore creates his mountain figure, which is really cool. I like that sort of use of magic.
I thought it was kind of funny how it was reminiscent of scribbling on a chalkboard while he.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Yeah, he's scribbling away. Yeah, really cool. And obviously they talk about Bhutan, which I really want to know more about because they say, it's an ancient place and all of our ancient magic comes from there. And if you listen closely, the past speaks to us, which didn't really come to fruition in this film as such. But I just want to know more about Bhutan. It's such a fascinating place. I want to see more of it.
Yeah, because those lines were in the trailers, and so I thought they would delve into it a little bit more, but they didn't really. But it would be interesting to learn.
Yeah, I just want to know where the ancient magic comes from, and just a really cool scene and really cool location that I want them to go back to. So hopefully they will. So they discuss the beginnings of the plan, not the full extent of it, and then they get sent off by Albus to Aberforth's doing dinner, so just go see Aberforth. And then when they get there, they obviously get given his disgusting looking soup again. And they talk about the Qilin again. They go into sort of more details about how it's so it picks up on the pure people, and I love Jacob's interaction with it. I just really loved he just seems to have such an affinity with all things magical, and the way that it was no one else is it played around as well. It was all very serious and solemn creature, but as soon as Jacob's there, it's having fun and it's bouncing around him, and I just think that's Jacob's character, down to a T, and he just has that influence on everyone.
In that scene, I honestly half expected it to bow to him and everyone to be like, "What?"
Yes, me too. I was expecting that at some point for it to bow to him, and I was thinking, how is this going to work? But it didn't, and I'm glad because it would have left so many questions. How is this? Oh yeah, for sure. During this scene, the "I want to come home" writing comes up on the mirror that we saw from the trailer as well, and obviously Newt sees that, goes upstairs, and this is where obviously he overhears the scene that we've already talked about with the reveal about Credence, and Credence being obviously Aberforth's son, and then they have the discussion about Ariana, and then from that moment on, we move on to the Room of Requirements, which confirms that Dumbledore knows about the Room of Requirements, I suppose.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it was a weird one because he seemed to not know about it when he was talking to Harry about the toilets or something. I think it was a Yule Ball or something. He was like, I stumbled across a toilet. So, yeah.
I think that is because of the fact that J.K. Rowling hadn't decided that the Room of Requirement existed yet. Because you have where the Mirror of Erised is in the first book is kind of maybe the Room of Requirement, but it just hadn't been decided yet. And then that part in Goblet of Fire, and so it feels like it's mostly because of the fact that the lore was still being built, which obviously gives us some playground for theorizing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the Room of Requirement is so cool. I don't know if you've seen anything about the game coming up. Obviously, the Room of Requirement plays a lot in the game. So, really interesting room. It's just fascinating throughout every sort of incarnation it's been in. So, obviously, this time around, it was obviously their way of getting to Bhutan. Not really much of an explanation as to what that device was, but it looked to have Qilins on it. I think there was little Qilins on it. So,
there was a Qilin on the top and then a symbol on the bottom that I caught on a banner in Bhutan. So.
Yeah, and there was obviously it was revealed what their final play was, obviously with the suitcases and how they're gonna try and deceive Grindelwald. And the one thing I did like about this scene is it sort of instantly, to me, was really clever the way Dumbledore played it, because Jacob went to take the suitcase and was like, no.
Yep.
So Jacob took the next one. I don't know if you noticed this straight away. Newt was then next to go and instantly went for that suitcase. So I think Newt at that moment thought that he had the right suitcase. Which then, as it plays on later on, and obviously he's on the stairs scene with the woman. I don't know who that woman is, but with that woman, he genuinely believes that is the right suitcase. And I don't know if he thought he had the fake one, if he would have been able to act as though he believed that was the right suitcase. So I think it was another like deception by Dumbledore, pulling the strings to make Newt turn around and go, okay, I've got the real suitcase. This is the real one. I need to protect this for my life, which then deceived everyone else.
Yes, exactly. And going into it, I was like positive that either Jacob or Bunty would be the one with the correct case, the one with the Qilin in it. And so I thought at first when I saw that, I thought the play was that Dumbledore wanted Jacob to have the right one.
Yeah.
But then it was confusing because later he's like, you don't have the real one, you can drop it at any point. And I'm like, oh, maybe he's still playing Jacob, but he wasn't, because then you see like a few minutes later Jacob does drop his case and it's just got the pastries with the Gemino on them. And then and so then I was like, oh yeah, Bunty's got it. But then I'm like, that's a really interesting play by Dumbledore, that he was making Newt think and he had the right case, when really it was the one right next to Bunty that was the case with the Qilin in it.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see, and the magic in this final sequence was just so cool. So many things we hadn't seen, but then also so many nods to things we already knew about, and the mixture of both was just great. But it did make me upset, because my favourite book is The Order of the Phoenix, and the reason for that is the battle of the Department of Mysteries and the chaos of the Department of Mysteries battle, and we see it in this film what it could have been, and it just wasn't in that film. So it really kind of upset me at the same time as made me go, this is but yeah, that was my initial thought. But yeah, anyway, the fight scene. So obviously we got the fight scene with Lally and Theseus, and they are both just badass. They are amazing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They literally take out six or seven each, I think. They're just absolutely annihilated everyone. Like, Theseus chucks someone in a wall. Like, Lally's just firing pots and pans and everything at them, and yeah, just great. And obviously we get the moment with, I don't think Newt actually fights in this whole scene, but I don't
think so either.
No, but then Jacob obviously knocks him out with his suitcase.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then obviously they all get caught, and you get the reveal of what the suitcases hold. And just some of the things in there were just such nice nods for us as watchers, and just unexpected. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it was fun to see what was in the different cases too. I mean, I don't know which one was Lally's and which one was Theseus's.
No, yeah.
Like, one of those two cases was the one that was just filled with books, like half of which was Lally's book.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
And then like all the snitch and the
bludgers.
The bludgers. Stuff, and I don't know if Theseus played Quidditch or anything.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think it'd be nice if he did, because then each of the things are like his things. And was it the Monster Book of Monsters that came out as well? Because they were just like going around.
Yes, I don't know if it was specifically the Monster Book of Monsters or if it was just a book that was enchanted the same way, but I did catch a book that was chomping around.
Yeah, and then it was just a scene afterwards, and it's just Dumbledore and Aberforth just walking through a crowd, and then just around them there's just like bludgers and stuff, just absolutely wiping. I love this scene. The last 20 minutes of this film were just fantastic.
Oh yeah, it was really good, really good.
Yeah.
Go on. Yeah, well, I was just going to say, and then is the next thing we get where Queenie approaches Jacob? Am I skipping ahead too much? Or
that's next. Yeah, that's next.
Yeah. I saw that, and I literally, because I in the trailers had seen that clip from the very end, and I guess it kind of spoiled a few things for me because I saw Bunty in green, so I knew that she was that character that kept on walking around in green, that like was in the background and whatnot, and like she would have the real case. And then also I saw the character in red, and I thought that was going to be Tina.
Same.
And so I saw that character show up, and I'm like, yes, Tina. And then, but it was Queenie, and I'm like, okay, no, that makes more sense actually.
Yeah. It made more sense, and it was a really nice moment for them. Like Jacob calming her down, bringing her back to reality, and obviously they end up inevitably getting caught. But it was just a nice room. So as the scene plays out from that moment onwards, we hop back to one more thing afterwards. But as the scene plays out from a moment onwards, see they go up to the top where Grindelwald's having his speech, and then he brings Jacob forward. And I was at this moment thinking, oh my god, they've just had their really nice moment. He's gonna die. And I was literally thinking,
I was so scared.
I was terrified. I was thinking, oh my god, they're actually gonna kill him. Because I mean, like, Harry Potter's not scared of killing people in their franchise. Like, they kill off fan favourites. Dobby, like, you know what I mean? Like, they kill off fan favourites, and I was thinking, oh my god, they've just had this really nice moment. They've been bigging him up to be this great character throughout the whole movie and all this sort of stuff, and they're gonna kill him off. Luckily, they didn't. But on that moment, then I was like, oh, I don't know what's gonna happen. I literally didn't know what was gonna happen.
Yeah, but then it was just the Cruciatus curse, and then I caught the fact that also it was Vicencia Santos who like stopped it too, which was a little neat thing to show that like I guess the dichotomy, the difference, the foils between Grindelwald and Vicencia, where like she really should be the leader.
Yeah, really nice. Yeah, that was a really nice inclusion. She was the one that stopped it. I like that. It wasn't anyone else. It was obviously her, and she's the one that deserves to be the leader. Just jumping back very slightly, obviously we get everyone going through this cool portal to the obviously main temple, and then we've got Yusuf coming forward, and I was thinking, oh my god, he is against him, and then he just turned around, and how powerful is Yusuf? Honestly, he literally did what 3 of them had to do, like, on his own. He just destroyed so many of them. It was crazy.
I mean, he did have a little bit of surprise on his side, but still, that was like massive, like crazy spell to just take out the rest of everyone.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So going forward, we've obviously got the whole sequence at the top of the stairs. Grindelwald has made his zombie Qilin. Do you think it was an Inferi? Because it seems to have a similar sort of properties.
That would make sense.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
The creator of Inferi can control it, so maybe he's turned it into like an Inferi Qilin.
That I didn't even think about that, but that would make a lot of sense.
The other thing that came to my mind, again, one of my theories, came to my mind as well, is obviously he did it in the water. And is water required to make an Inferi? Because if so, that would then make more sense as to why the lake is where the lake is in the Harry Potter series, because Voldemort's just using that lake to make the Inferi. So it's just obviously something I thought about.
Yeah, that could make sense. I mean, we only just have that one example, really, of Inferi. So
but again, they don't explain it very well.
Sure.
Unfortunately. But yeah, he's got his zombie Qilin and obviously makes it bow to him. This then obviously shows the wizarding world that he's pure at heart, and they vote their votes for him, and all of the votes are for him. Every single one, I think, of the fireworks is his symbol. So at that point,
I think I saw 1 or 2 red and yellow ones, but
pretty much
vast majority are green.
So then he obviously steps forward and confronts Jacob and says, "This is the guy that tried to assassinate me," and does the Crucio curse, and I thought he was going to die. And then we have Credence come forward and saves the day.
Yes, he's the one who came and was like, he spoke up finally at this point, and that's really what turned everything around.
Yeah, and he's like, he's lying to you. This isn't real. And the Qilin's just doing like a weird circle, and then like obviously the suitcase at this point has been destroyed, all of them, and you're thinking, oh no, this is this is it. We can't prove that it's wrong. And they're like, you've got no proof. And then Bunty appears. She's still in love with him, but she reveals the suitcase, and it's like, yes, we've got the real Qilin here. And they obviously do the whole bowing sequence, and it bows to Dumbledore.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know why I didn't necessarily see that coming, but it does make sense.
Yeah. I think it's going to anger a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of people that don't like him.
Yeah. I do know that, like, I think it'll probably take until the end of, 1945 battle, he defeats Grindelwald, for people to really, for everyone to really, like, support him.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know at some point he becomes Supreme Mugwump.
Yeah, yes, he does.
That's where we know that term from, and I don't know exactly what the timing is on.
Yeah. No, it is on.
It did make a lot of sense, and then like things started clicking into place with that's why there were twin Qilins and everything, and then it goes to bow to Vicentia as well.
Yeah, and then obviously she then gets the votes after we obviously get the moment, and Grindelwald during this whole sequence obviously does his little eye roll, gets his wand out, and then aims straight at Credence, and both of the Dumbledores step in. I noticed in my trailer breakdown, I noticed the free beam, so I was like, someone else is protecting this person. I didn't know who the person was, but two people are trying to protect this person, and obviously the beams then link, and this causes the Blood Pact to break, and I really don't like it personally.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Why not?
It was just not an explanation. We went against each other, but we didn't go against each other because we wasn't going against each other. Is how I think they explained it. If you could explain it to me better, then I might accept it. But I just the
explanation that I understood was that Grindelwald was trying to attack someone else, so that was allowed, right?
Yeah.
And then Dumbledore was moving against Grindelwald to protect that person, and since he was going into it with the intention of protecting instead of attacking Grindelwald, he was able to do that, and it kind of just like wigged out the Blood Pact and made it. I guess that's the part where it kind of it jumps. It does jump.
It just feels like a weak explanation, and you've got a character. So this is what I would have liked, and obviously this is just a very personal opinion, but you've got a character that's being set up to die, Credence, who's got incredibly powerful unknown magic. You could have had a nice moment with Credence and Aberforth beforehand in the village where they meet up and they talk about it, and then obviously Credence can maybe run away upset or whatever, does exactly the same as what he's done now, saves the day in that sense, sees that Dumbledore and Aberforth has protected him, and then sees that Dumbledore like starts getting strangled by his Blood Pact or whatever, and realizes actually Dumbledore cannot go against him with this Blood Pact, so he then uses his obscurest magic, which is more powerful than anything we've seen, to destroy the Blood Pact. And I would just have preferred
interesting.
I would have preferred something like that Credence has his moment to save the day properly, and it's not just I didn't technically go against him, so the Blood Pact got confused. Like I don't know. For me, it was just one of those things that I just thought it was lazy writing. It's sort of like, I don't actually know how we're going to get over this, so the only way we're going to get over this is by it not really understanding what's happening.
I mean, I feel like it feels similar to all of the confusion that is the Elder Wand allegiance at the end of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised by that, but I can totally see what you're saying with that, and I do like what you just explained would be a really cool alternative. So,
but we obviously get the nice moment after this with Credence and Aberforth, and the massive callback to the Harry Potter books, and I did just get a little bit of shivers when it happened. Obviously, Credence said to him, "Did you ever think about me?" And then Aberforth just says, "Always." And I just absolutely loved that moment, and it was just beautiful. A nice, really nice.
Yeah.
callback.
I know. I'm really hoping that Credence doesn't die too soon, but
Yeah.
who knows?
I'd like to get a few moments of them together. Yeah, just a
Yeah.
few moments, just to get a bit of a redemption for him. And then
Yeah.
I also obviously, have you seen the scene of Malfoy in the Deathly Hallows Part 2 where he throws Harry the wand?
Yes.
Like
Yep.
that moment, like Malfoy deserved that moment. I want Credence to have that moment. Like I know he sort of stood up to him in this film, and it was a similar kind of moment, but I really want to have that one. I am fully saving the day moment here, like, which is what I obviously explained just a minute ago. But like, yeah, I want him to have that moment, and he sort of stood up to him now, but it was more of a "you're a liar" moment than an epic moment, if you
Yeah.
know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
But obviously, before that, we get the Blood Pact destroyed, and this amazing fight scene with Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and the way they're just apparating all over the place and dodging spells and blocking spells. It was really cool, and it gives me such anticipation for this final fight that we're going to see. I just can't wait.
Oh my goodness, yes.
It's going to be so good. Again, I was confused as to whether it happened.
Yeah, me too. That was one of the other things. Like that one and the one at the beginning. I'm like, wait, was that actually happening?
Because no one else seemed to have reacted as though there's just been a big duel. But at the same time, their positions had changed.
And then also, like, while they are dueling, it's like everyone and everything around them like disappears or goes fuzzy, and so it's like, what's happening there?
It wasn't explained very well. But yeah, obviously we have that moment. Grindelwald then leaves. Just before he leaves, he does turn around and he literally faces Dumbledore. He says this, and he says, "I never was your enemy, not then or now." And I think, I mean, obviously he's telling the truth. He's not trying to be their enemy. He just wants to make wizards greater, and he thinks that he's doing the right thing. So again, it's just, I think villains that think they're doing the right thing, Thanos, thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Make such great villains. Such great villains. Obviously that all happens. There's the aftermath. They chill out on the top of the steps. We get Jacob wanting to keep his wand, which he gets to keep. And then the final scene is really funny for me because in one of my trailer breakdowns, I spotted behind Dumbledore like a wheel, and it looked like it was part of a horse and carriage type situation. So I was like, I think this is going to be the end of the film, and I think this is going to be a horse and carriage in the reflection behind him. So it's either going to be a funeral or a wedding. However, he looks very happy, so I'm going to suggest that this is a wedding. Potentially, it could be Jacob and Queenie's wedding because I've seen them together in the trailer. And then but I got everything right except when Dumbledore sat there, I was like looking at the thing behind him, like, that's not a reflection. There is just a wheel for sale in the shop behind him. So I got everything right about the scene except for the fact the main thing that made me think about it was wrong, which is really peculiar.
I love it when you get theories from stuff like that.
Yeah. So random, but great. So right. But we obviously get the scene with Tina and Newt and
yes,
the
and I think we forgot to mention this when we tried again with the second recording, but Tina becoming the head of the R office, and that's why she was absent, was a nice little thing, and I just wanted to bring that up again because I totally called that one.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I saw that on your video as well. Yeah, so
and it was funny because it felt like I brought it like literally out of nowhere, but I saw like I think it was the world premiere, and whoever was interviewing Catherine Waterston mentions like a promotion or something, and Catherine Waterston's like, I can't say anything.
Yeah, I'm not talking.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, this would make so much sense. There's like an in-universe explanation as to why she wasn't not there.
Yeah, obviously I would like to have seen her in the movie more, but outside circumstances meant she wasn't there, and it was a nice explanation for her to not be there. She's obviously got things to do, and this is very much a European war at the moment. So America doesn't necessarily need to get massively involved. Obviously Lally's there, but obviously she's got her own things to deal with. So it was a nice explanation for But obviously seeing them two together and having their chemistry again was just so nice to see.
Oh yeah, for sure. I loved having them in that last scene. The fighting ended, and then there's that last scene, and I mean it was kind of long-ish, but it was like a perfect tie-up to everything. And seeing Newt and Tina again together just in that last part is great. Also, we got the confirmation that Tina and Lally actually know each other, which is fun. I don't know if like Lally, I don't know what their age difference is, like if they're more colleagues or if they're more like maybe Lally even was a young teacher when Tina went to Ilvermorny or something, but
I don't know. Yeah, it'd be nice to see, to be honest. So hopefully they're going to expand on that in the next films as well. So obviously the wedding scene as well, like Jacob doesn't want to see Queenie, like the superstitions that we've obviously got, and they don't understand it, and I just thought that was a nice little funny scene as well.
That was a fun touch, yeah.
And another scene, obviously we haven't really discussed this yet, but I think Theseus and Newt's relationship for this film, I really like the progression of it. Like they're becoming brothers as such. But I just think it's quite funny at the end. He like there's a moment and he's like, "Oh, you look wonderful and you look great," and he just doesn't acknowledge Theseus again, and it's just like a funny sort of
what about me?
Yeah, and he's like, "Do I look good?" And he's like, "Yeah." And they have like a nice little brotherly moment. It's like, "You're not nervous, are you?" "Nah, you'll be fine. Come on, you just save the world." And yeah, it was just a nice shot, and obviously one of the first shots we got in any of the trailers was literally the last shot of the movie, and that's Dumbledore walking away towards Brooklyn Bridge, maybe? I don't know.
I think so, something.
Yeah, one of the New York bridges. So yeah, and that was obviously the last scene. So what are your thoughts of the movie? Have you got a rating out of 10, maybe?
Oh, good question. I personally really enjoyed the film. One of the things that I use to determine how much I like a film is like how engaged I am with it the whole time. And I was pretty engaged with this film the whole time. Like I didn't get taken out of it too many times. And like there were so many really good things with the dueling, the humor, the magic, the creatures, all of that stuff. I really, really enjoyed. The main negative thing is just like the things that were not explained super well or were confusing or whatnot. So I probably, out of 10, probably give it like an 8. I don't know.
I went in 8 initially. After the second viewing, I was about 7.5. Just because it was one of those things. Like the more I sort of thought about things, like, well, I don't understand. So and obviously, I think for me, probably it's going to be slightly lower because the whole Blood Pact thing, I didn't like that. So that probably knocks off.
I wonder how it'll hold up upon like future viewings, like viewing it over and over again. Because I know, like with Crimes of Grindelwald, I really liked it up front, and then the more I saw it, the more I was like, and like versus the first Fantastic Beasts film, like I was kind of about it the first time. Part of that was because I didn't get to see it in theaters though, but the more and more I watched that first film, the more I liked it. So I'm wondering how that'll be with this one.
Oh, I'm sure with the content on our channels, we're going to be deep diving into it quite a lot. So But thank you so much. This has been really fun. Sorry we've had to do this 2 times because the recording didn't work, but it's been great. And
no worries.
I really appreciate you coming on. And like I said, everyone who is watching, the link will be below. Go and show her some support. The channel's great. I've watched most of her videos, and she's even found things in the trailers that I haven't, so I was quite jealous about that. But yeah, go and check her out, and she makes really great content, and it's really similar to the stuff that you like on my channel. So I think you'll really like the channel as well. So like I said, link will be in the description.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm going to be posting my like short, 10-15 minute review later today, so that should be available to check out, and I'll be posting more stuff. So I'm excited to be kind of in the same circles and chatting about this film more. So
brilliant. Thank you so much. Really been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Bye.
So that was it for the first episode of Wizarding World Weekly. Thank you so much for watching or listening wherever you are. I really do appreciate it. As always, on YouTube, if you want to get involved, let me know what you thought of this in the comments below, and let me know what you thought of the movie. Once again, thanks so much to CaitLumos. She was absolutely brilliant on this show. She stuck it out for the long haul, because unfortunately halfway through, the recording decided to stop and corrupted itself, so I had no footage. So we ended up having to record the first half of this again. But she stuck it out, and she continued to do the rest of the podcast, which was fantastic. Hopefully, I'm going to do more things like this on the channel, and hopefully CaitLumos will come back again a later episode and do some more podcasts with me. Her content is fantastic on YouTube. Please go and check her out and subscribe to her channel and show her some support, because she makes such great videos, and that if you like my videos, I think you're going to like hers. But that is it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. But until then, mischief managed.